Okay, I'm going to be talking about my takeaway phases. I'm not going to talk about my eating out phases, as that takes too long and will make the video too long. So I'm just going to go on about takeaway phases. So now this is going back probably about from 2000 to about, I don't know, about 2000 and I was about 20 to sort of 27, 28, and I used to go down the chip shop most nights, and it was Giulio's. People used to, I mean, in the chip shop, they used to say, well, he's in here every day, one other day. And yeah, I did go down there a lot. It got to a point where about 10 years later, I came out of that phase, and I think I'd only been down that chip shop once in about 3 years in the end. Now, at the moment, I am, and I have been for the last 5 or 6 years, I've got a massive Subway phase. I the only place I seem to go to for a takeaway is Subway, and it kind of varies. I mean, I went for a phase of eating in the Subway, but now I just get a takeaway. But a lot of time, but I always used to go at, or I always still go at about 11 o'clock in the morning, or between about 11 and a half, 11, when the queue isn't big. Because there's one thing I hate is like waiting in a queue, and as soon as I've parked up, I'm quickly get out the car to get in Subway before anyone else gets in the queue. Um, and it's I usually mainly have the tuna. Today I had a veggie delight. I sometimes had the spicy Italian. The other day I had the meatballs, but the trouble is when I had the meatball foot long, I couldn't manage any tea in the evening. Like really stuffed me. What other takeaway phases? I went through quite a big McDonald's one actually. Probably around. Yeah, it was at the time I was living in Apple Tree Court. I used to it was either breakfast or lunch, and I did go through, but that only lasted about 2 or 3 months. And then I think there was a very small phase of about a month where I used to go down the Indian most nights, and I used to this is when I drank quite a bit, but I used to go down the Indian, order 6 onion barges, a ton of mint sauce, and then I used to put a bit of cheese and crisps. I'll go into that story on another video, the cheese and crisps. Do you know what I used to do? Yeah, and yeah, so yeah, I used to go, and then I used to have a beer while waiting. Oh, probably about, I was probably about 34 or something, 33, around that time. And it was, yeah. It was about a year or two before I first moved into my own flat. And we're talking about probably 2015 to 2018 or something. I used to go down the Chinese. If not every night, most nights, I used to go down the Chinese, walk there, and usually have shrimp curry, egg fried rice, and mini spring rolls, or I'd mostly, but then I probably have beef and black bean sauce, or yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I used to walk down there, have go and have a drink in the Ebden, then come back and then come home and eat it. Yeah, that was the time when I went to see Toto in Manchester, and when the car broke down the following day, and luckily I managed to get to Manchester and back in the car, and I'd only got about 3 hours sleep in the hotel room, and I may as well just driven back there, but obviously I had to come back the next day because I was having a drink at the venue. Yeah, and the following night, yeah, bang. Oh, the relief of having to come back all the way from Manchester. I went up the Ebden, had a drink, and had ordered a Chinese, and then but it tends to be that the phases. I mean, when I lived my parents' house, it was it was either drive to Subway for lunch, get a Subway, mostly get a Chinese. I mean, yeah, in the evening. I think it's because the only place which I didn't seem to have a hair in your food was a Chinese or the um, Subway. I used to go to town before Subway was built by Morrison's, but what else takeaways have we gone to? So we got the McDonald's one. Did I do any other takeaways? I think there's more eating out, scope for eating out, more places that I ate out, so the video would be probably bigger for eating out, because there are quite a few phases. I know we're not talking about the eating out in this video, but I mean, talk about the manor phase, for example. I mean, I went for a massive manor and a bit of an Ebden. Anyway, let's talk about that in the next video. Yeah, breakfast at Cabo's. Yeah, anyway, I'm gonna but since I moved out, now when I moved to Appletree Court, the phases were pretty much the same, although I couldn't go to the Chinese when I moved to Appletree Court, and there wasn't, when I moved to Appletree Court, there wasn't as many takeaways and stuff like that. So the only real place I went to for a takeaway was Subway. And then I moved to Clevedon. Oh, Clevedon. I went through a massive Domino's pizza phase in Clevedon. Every Tuesday, or most Tuesdays, I'd get a Domino's pizza. Now, the only trouble is when I lived in Clevedon, the only takeaway I couldn't really go to was Subway. Because the only Subway that I could get to was about 8 miles down the motorway to Whirl, or about 4 miles to Esso in Nailsea. So I couldn't really get a Subway without having to travel. Although I did at times, sometimes used to drive all the way to Esso in Nailsea to get a Subway and bring it back to Clevedon. I could have done that alongside, yeah. But no, there was quite a few takeaways. Oh, I did have, there was a chip shop. I would either have Domino's pizza, chip shop for lunch, or, I tell you what I did as well. I had there was a kebab shop there. Now I live near, there's like, the observatory. Now I live there. I'm going through a bit of a phase. There's a chip shop there, but near the observatory. I'm going to that chip shop. I have been for a Chinese, but very rarely do I go for a Chinese there. Not because it's not. I just very rarely do I. It's fine though. But yeah, I usually go up the chip shop, but I don't have kebab. I usually get one fish cake and a portion of chips, and then there's the amount of times I've gone in Tesco Express. Now I will say that I've gone through a phase. I mean, I go through eating phases of eating certain foods, but I have gone through a phase of eating Ben & Jerry's cookie dough ice cream, and I have the whole pot, and it's quite expensive actually. What other takeaway phases? I think that's about it. I still do the Subway phase as normal most days, and I do that chip shop phase near where I live. Exeter, we missed out Exeter. Well, Exeter, that was a massive Subway phase, and the great thing about Exeter was I lived in a flat where you literally walked out your flat and it was only 5-10 minute walk to Subway, and guess what? There was a music shop which is almost as good as PMT in Bristol, opposite on the other side of the road from Subway. So on my days off, when I worked in Sainsbury's in Exeter, I basically on my days off, which was Thursday and Sunday, Sundays I used to not go every Sunday to Subway, but every single Thursday, I don't think I can't think of a Thursday which I missed out where I didn't go to Subway. Well, when I was working there, I used to get the sandwich meal deal in Sainsbury's for my lunch break. I used to get a sandwich, crisps, fizzy pop, and I used to get a packet of those cakes on their bakery. They probably saw me eat the same food every day, and then and then I on the Thursday I used to get up, go to Subway about 11 in the morning before the queue built up, and I used to get a foot-long Subway, 3 cookies, and a latte. I still do that now, and yeah, I used to eat those, and probably not all the cookies in there. I usually saved a few, about 2 for when I got home. But yeah, I used to have that, and then walk in the music shop, look round that music shop for about half an hour, and then just walk back. I mean, there was a few days where I went and had a proper look round the shops, because I was like living near a city centre and that. Yeah. But that was it there for the Subway. Yeah, I can't think what else to say. So I think I'll end this video here. Thank you if you watched.